Hello and welcome to the Eye on the U podcast, the Miami Herald's Miami Hurricanes podcast. I'm David Wilson. I'm joined, as always, on the other line from parts unknown, Susan Miller-Degnan. Susan, what's going on?
It's cold and getting colder in the Great Pacific Northwest. It's going down to like supposedly, I don't know, 14, 15 degrees in a couple days and with highs in the low 20s. I can't wait.
Well, aside from the temperature, honestly, it kind of feels like the Pacific Northwest down here in South Florida because it is like rained. It feels like for about 3 weeks straight. I'm sure even before you, I don't know when you went out there, but I feel like I haven't seen the sun in a month.
Yeah, it's like that here pretty
All
much
the
every.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
gorgeous, but yeah, we're expecting 10 inches of snow on
Ooh, that's fun.
Friday and Saturday. Yeah, it's kind of fun. I'm
Gonna have a
looking.
snowball fight? Build a
Yeah,
snowman?
maybe I'll put on some boots and my Olympic boots from like a million years ago. Anyway,
Susan's on vacation. I'm fighting off a little cold, so we're gonna be pretty quick this week, but some news to actually get to this week, that we felt like we had to come back and talk about. Quarterback news. Anytime quarterback news happens, that is important in the world of college football. There's some other important news in the world of college football that maybe we'll get to at the end. But let's start with the Miami specific news of the week, and that is Miami's got a quarterback. We were waiting for it. I don't know if it'll be the only one. We'll obviously talk about that, but they got a quarterback, Reese Poffenbarger, coming up from the FCS level at Albany, where he had coming off a great season in 2023. Susan, what do you make of this addition for the Canes?
I think they had to get somebody.
They had to get somebody, yeah.
They absolutely had to get somebody. I think it's intriguing is the word I used. I mean, obviously, you know, they they struck out on getting the guy they really wanted, Cam Ward.
Yep.
Talked about that. Um, I guess they had to take that chance and or they didn't have to, but they did. And Ward decided to go to the NFL, enter the draft. And then all of a sudden everybody started dropping to other teams.
Uh-huh.
And and they only had I think one other guy visit them other than this kid Poffenbarger. But it turned and then so it turned out that they had nobody, and that was starting to get scary because Jakari Brown, as we've said before, is coming back at least for spring, minimum.
Yep.
And he needs someone to compete with, right? Jakari Brown needs somebody to compete with. So I like, I mean, Judd Anderson, a true freshman coming in out of high school, who's coming in a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that doesn't really count, okay, because he doesn't know the system. It was in high school, whatever. And so Poffenbarger, the top quarterback in the FCS this year, he played for
One of the
Auburn.
top. Yeah. What a top passer, right?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, the top passer this season in the FCS with Albany. He led them to the semifinal of their playoff. Unfortunately, they lost 59-0. Which has been brought up to me a few hundred times, and I understand that. I mean, I was like, 59-0, and he threw 3 interceptions
Yeah.
that game. So that's not good, but he's supposed to be a really good athlete. And of course, I'm sure you did, and I did, and a zillion other people saw him do some slam dunk moves.
Yep.
You see that on his video?
Yep.
That was kind of cool. So like I like it. It comes from a very athletic family. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it'll be a
Yeah,
big
I think it's
surprise.
pretty interesting. 59-0. I know South Dakota State is like super good and like probably like I think they got top 25 votes at various points throughout this season. Like they're a cut above everyone else in FCS. So you'd like to see a little more than 0 points, but I'm not gonna like judge a guy strictly. You never should judge a guy based on his best day or his worst day, right? And the nice thing about Poffenbarger is, um, that was, arguably his worst day. He was also bad against, they played Hawaii this year and he only threw for 93 yards in that game. But it's not like he led FCS, like you said, in passing, but it's not like he had like a couple 600-yard games or whatever. He was like really consistent. If you just look at his game by game stats, that was obviously one of the best teams in the country. The best team on the East Coast, it sure seems like, and the way FCS works, there's a lot of the talent is really concentrated in that Great Plains, the Dakota schools, and some of the West Coast schools. So I think what he did at Albany, playing against lesser competition than a school like South Dakota State plays against, but still, like you said, they made it to the FCS semifinals. And he was really productive. The athleticism is, I think, important when you want to bring a guy up from that lower level. They need to have some tools there, right? Like whether it's they have that like just thinking of some of like the FCS quarterbacks who have succeeded, whether it was transferring up a level or in the NFL, like Joe Flacco had an NFL frame and an NFL arm. That's like, I know he played at Delaware, but he looked like an NFL quarterback. Poffenbarger's not a big guy, but that athleticism that you talk about, that is like, he'll be one of the more athletic quarterbacks probably in Power Four. I guess it'll be next year, once he gets up to Miami next year. So
Yeah,
you like
yeah,
to have that, like that's something to
yeah,
build on. And then obviously he was really good, like you said, 3,600 yards, 36 touchdowns, and
yeah. And
importantly, Miami might not be done, right? Like this might not be the answer, but you needed a guy, and they've got a pretty good guy to at least compete. And
and
if
who
it's him,
knows?
Jakari Judd, like he's the favorite to start right now. If no one else comes in, and he has a chance to be really good. I like the idea of bringing guys up from lower levels. Jared Verse from Albany had a pretty good run at Florida State.
Yeah, I yeah, I like everything about it except his last name is way too long. I already counted
Not good
all.
for headlines.
I know. Did you think of that, by the
I did
way?
not, but now that you mention it, yes.
That's really funny. Anyway, and I don't know if he's a favorite. I mean, I would love Jakari to do well.
Yeah.
I would really love Jakari to do well. So, and thrive, I guess. This Reese Poffenbarger, said this is his chance to succeed on this level and then, enter the draft or whatever. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
once they missed
I
out
think
on a
it's
bunch
one
of
good.
guys, this is, it's interesting to me both because, um, his like upside is exciting. The unknown is always exciting, right? Like obviously you would rather have
Always.
gotten Cam Ward or even like DJ
Wow.
Uyunglele, like a guy who you just know is going to be good. But
Right.
it's like it's kind of more exciting to me to have a guy who's coming up from a lower level who was really exciting at that level, than like a guy who was like a backup. I know there's still like an unknown quality to like getting a backup from a Power Five school and say like, all right, that guy's gonna compete for the starting job. But we've seen his highlights are pretty impressive. Poffenbarger, like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
And
act like I watched them this year, but
I love that his
um,
family is super athletic too.
yeah,
My
good
sister,
pedigree.
yeah, sister is a star for Arkansas. I think it's Arkansas. And at least his bio in Albany says that she's a member of the Team USA women's basketball team, and the mother played. And she's, by the way, this is really interesting. His sister is 6'2". And Reese told Pete Thamel of ESPN that he's actually 6'1". He's listed at 6 foot. So, and I'm always thinking, we've talked about this
Yeah,
when
they add an inch or two usually.
yeah, they add an inch or two, yeah, at least an inch. But we'll see. We'll see how he does. I just yeah, I love the idea of not really knowing too much. It's fun. So we'll see how he does, but I think it was a good move, and it's he visited and they must have thought highly enough of him.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we said, I mean, the
Uh,
most important thing, they just needed someone um when you missed out on that whole group. And there's just not a lot of guys left in the transfer portal. Like I know everyone wants to get some big star, but you look through the list of guys remaining. Jaden Delara is like kind of interesting, but he got benched at Arizona this year. Um, and then the other one is the other guy we need to talk about is Taulia Tagovailoa, who is in the
Yes,
transfer portal,
yes,
and it seems like is headed to Miami if he gets approval to play one more year of college football,
yes.
which is a huge question right now because he's out of eligibility. Um, he played in too many games his freshman year in Alabama when he threw what, like 12 passes or something in garbage times of games mostly. Um, he's still like he's the one guy who's left. Like even Jaden Delara, I think if you'd gotten him, it's not like he was a lock to come in and start. He was going to be here for a competition. uh, Tully is he's the guy who if you get him, you're pretty set at the position. And one thing I didn't mention about Poffenbarger, only a sophomore. Like you said, he could enter the draft
Oh,
next year,
yes,
but he has a
correct.
bunch of years left of eligibility where
Yeah,
he could be a long-term solution too, even if you get Talia, who will if you get him, you only have him for 1 year. No
right.
matter what. Poffenbarger can be part of that long-term solution where we talked about it a lot this year that Miami just had suddenly gotten really thin at quarterback with Jake Garcia transferring out and obviously Tyler Van Dyke transferring out. And Jaden Rashada decommitting. So they've built at least built up the depth at the quarterback spot. Now if you get a guy like Talia, you've got your short-term answer to bridge you to a much better long-term situation than you were looking at a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I love the Talia option. Of course, I think everybody's thinking he's actually Tua. I mean,
They're very, I will say, I mean, I grew up a Maryland fan. I watch a lot of Talia. I'm a big fan. Like, Maryland has not had a quarterback like that pretty much in my entire lifetime. He is nothing like Tua. They could not be more different as players.
that's what everybody says. How are they in what ways, David?
Well, I'll say he's a little more like college Tua ran around a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
Talia, he scrambles like a lot, not necessarily like rushing, but like gets out of the pocket, he plays much more hero ball than Tua. The thing that makes Tua great is like he operates a system like pretty much better than anyone, right? Like if you know a wide receiver is going to be somewhere, he's that most accurate quarterback in the league. He's going to put it on the
Really?
money. The gripe about Tua always is like when the play breaks down, what can he do for you? Talia he can make a lot of great throws. He maybe like makes the play break down too fast. Like he'll try to like kind of make the play that's not there. Whereas Tua is always going to take what the defense gives him. Talia turns the ball over much more than Tua did. He's not as good as Tua, obviously. Turns the ball over a little bit more erratic, but I also like kind of like more exciting in some ways where, he can make a boneheaded play one drive and then the next drive he'll make a couple of the best throws you'll see all year.
But he's also, by the way, he's small,
Yeah, small. I mean, like
right?
Tua
He's
too. Like
small.
he's
How
not as
small?
Tua's gotten
No,
bigger, just like physically, but yeah. Talia's listed at 5'11", probably 5'10", realistically. So
that was like De'Aaron King.
yeah, I think he's bigger than De'Aaron. Although
Yeah.
I've never like stood next to Talia like I stood next to De'Aaron.
I always said this, but Derek, when he told me that it's my first big interview with him, and I said, just how tall really are you? Really? And he said 5'9 3/4.
By the way, we never talked about De'Aaron King going to be
I know,
the
good for
quarterback
him.
coach at SMU.
How great is
Yeah,
that?
that's awesome.
Man, Rhett Lashley,
Yep,
God bless that man. Seriously, I can't wait to see him in the ACC.
for real. So yeah, if they get Talia, I think it's not like the A Cam Ward would have been like the A+ portal, but it still would be a pretty big success, especially we discussed this kind of early in the process. Like, would you rather have a 1 year guy or someone who you could maybe develop with for a couple of years? They could come out of this with the best of both worlds if they get Talia
Oh, that
and
would be
Poffenbarger.
awesome. That would be, all I'm saying is if he does get the waiver, and guys, I think by the time people are listening to this, we might know the answer.
Yeah,
So
it should be
sorry
soon.
about
The
that.
NFL draft deadline is next week.
And
And
we, yeah,
I'm not 100% positive how that works because Taulia, obviously, if he's out of eligibility, like he can enter the draft. Like so, but the NCAA has to make a decision soon because that process has to start for him.
right, right. So, yeah, that would be that. Anyway, if for some reason he gets a waiver, and it might be again, by the time people listen to this, maybe the answer, they'll know the answer, but, uh, he's, he's good. If he gets the waiver, I can't believe he wouldn't come to UM. Okay, I
Yeah.
just can't believe it. With Tua here, I can't, and the
Oh, I mean
family wants
the
him.
marketing opportunities, like
Oh my God.
the NIL, like I know a lot of NIL is
Oh,
like kind of like just you get promised that and you figure out the marketing opportunities after the money's allocated, but there's like real natural marketing opportunities there that
fantastic,
yeah.
really. Yeah, yeah, the family will come move here or wherever, unless, yeah, it's, although I read somewhere that he also was looking at schools out, or they were talking about schools out west, but there's no way. There's no way he's
Yeah, I mean
coming.
that would be the only other one, but Miami needs it's just a natural fit from all sides. Miami needs a quarterback. Uh Talia clearly wants to play another year and wants to go somewhere where he can
And you got some,
compete, right? Like,
yeah, and
you know,
there's
he's
Francis and Francisco, and
yeah, obviously they got the whole
yeah,
Samoan
they
connection
got this
here, so
American Samoans thing, so that's kind of cool.
yeah. The only concern is if it doesn't go well. We know the way that
But
South Florida fans can turn on guys quickly, and that's the only downside. But I think all the upsides certainly outweigh that. And Talia, like he's good. Like there's not a huge question of like, is he gonna be an All American? Like probably not. Is he gonna be All Conference? Maybe not even. But he's going to be a surefire, no doubt starting quarterback. I mean, it's the Big Ten's all-time leading passer. I know, like the Big Ten is not a league that has had guys throw for 1 billion yards, and they're, the best quarterbacks usually aren't there for as long as a guy like Talia was. But he's a for real, really good quarterback.
yeah, I hope it happens for them. It will be a
Yeah, it'd
very
be really fun. It'd be a
good
cool
season.
story.
Yeah,
Before we wrap things up, should we talk real quick about Nick Saban? I,
Nick
I was I
Saban.
was stunned. I couldn't believe it, honestly. Dolphins legend Nick Saban
Oh, that's a
retires.
legend. Oh God, I thought it was going to happen, David. If you want to know the
I
truth,
thought
come
it
on.
was gonna. After
I
this,
thought it was going to happen this year. I thought it was going to happen this.
really,
I
I thought next year. I thought this
man,
year went well enough. The quarterback was coming back. They overachieved. Seemed to really like
yeah,
this team, but
it was too
no,
tiring. Yeah,
it's definitely tiring.
yeah, he was. It was like, okay, he got, he got into the big game. They didn't get blown out, and good time to go out. He's done enough.
Yeah. So the coaching carousel will certainly be spinning. Mario Cristobal is not going anywhere, obviously. Even with the Nick Saban connections and those lists of like odds to be the next Alabama coach, or those are always fake, essentially. Like those odds are being plucked out of thin air. Did see Mario in one of them, like 500 to 1. Not gonna happen. Natural to put him on there, right? He's a former Alabama assistant coach. But the carousel is going to be spinning, and assistant coaches are going to be going all over the place. So that'll obviously be something I mean, a lot of the Miami guys, I don't necessarily see being affected much by that, but you never know. And Miami's actually had, considering they replaced 8 coaches last year, they've had just kind of an astonishingly um cohesive coaching staff right now. No changes since the end of the season. I know there's obviously a lot of time left in the offseason, but um, we talked about Lance Guidry a couple of weeks ago. That obviously LSU hires former Miami defensive coordinator Blake Baker instead. So we'll see
Yeah,
if that
Blake,
changes things.
great guy, right? Great guy.
Yeah. So it's gonna just be so yeah, it's just gonna be the offseason never stops, obviously. As soon as this quarterback thing gets figured out for Miami, there'll still be coaching stuff to monitor. But college football is gonna be different. Alabama, it's gonna take them some time, I think. They're not gonna just be Alabama like they have been right away with a new coach.
definitely. And we'll see what happens, but I do think that the UM coaches, well, we'll have to see. But I would have to pretty much bet uh almost
A
everything
lot
that
of them are
whoever,
guys with Miami connections or crystal
right?
ball connections, right? Whether it's obviously um Mirabal or like Salavea, or for the Miami connections, Kevin Beard, or even Jason Taylor, obviously, who's lived down here for I don't know how many years now. Since I guess he had that one little run with Washington at the end of his career, but pretty much otherwise has been in Miami since the start of his NFL career. So I don't see a lot of movement, but you never know. I did see a bunch of Alabama fans, top priority for them, keeping Travaris Robinson, which
Yeah.
makes sense because he's like their money recruiter. So um, Alabama's still going to recruit South Florida well as long as they hang on to him. All right, we can wrap things up there. You can follow Susan on Twitter at smillerdegnan. You can follow me on Twitter at dbwilson2. Um, we'll be a little bit more sporadic, I think, through the next couple of weeks until spring ball starts. But obviously, whenever this Taulia thing gets figured out, we'll come back and discuss that. But until then, just keep checking out MiamiHerald.com and the Miami Herald, and I'll have lots of news for you there. Thanks again. We will talk to you guys later on.